Hi everybody. Hey, I'm coming to you from the Urban Eatery in Eaton Center. I just had my lunch, which is great. Here we are. Very progressive place. Anyway, this is my review of Love, Marilyn, which I saw this morning at 9 o'clock. Another one of those early morning screenings, so just had to clear the cobwebs, but it was excellent, as I knew it would be, for two reasons. First of all, the subject matter, you can't go wrong with Marilyn Monroe. And secondly, the director, Ms. Garbus, is a great documentarian. I've seen a couple of her movies before this. One of them was a movie I mentioned on my best list last year called There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane, pardon me. And another film she made about Bobby Fischer that I saw a year or two ago. Me and my husband saw it at Hot Docs. It was also excellent. So anyway, this film, she continues to prove that she's a great documentarian, Ms. Garbus. This film was based on, I believe it said there were 2 boxes of Marilyn's personal papers that were found that had not been found before since her death. They were just found recently, and I guess she based her movie on these lost letters and journals and notebook entries and stuff like that. And it was great. It said in the movie that over 1,000 books have been written about Marilyn. Can you imagine? She died in 1962. What? It's like 2012 now. How many years is that? 50 years? You know, the public's fascination with her just has never gone away, and it never will. And it's great that it never will, because she was one of a kind. She was one of those people who come along once in a millennium. There will never be another Marilyn. No one will ever be as beautiful, as magnetic, as fascinating, as just... Everybody is just magnetized by Marilyn, it seems. I've never heard anyone say that they don't like Marilyn, and if they do, they're idiots. But anyway, this film proves yet again that Marilyn Monroe was not only incredibly beautiful, sexy, gorgeous, and had such star power, but what I've always known, since I've been reading about her, and the more I learn about her over the years, is that she was an extremely intelligent woman, and not enough people know this. There were 2 Marilyns. There was her public persona, which she consciously created through the use of a book called The Thinking Body. She actually created this Marilyn Monroe character from the material in this book. She learned how to walk with that certain Marilyn wiggle, that very, sexy, incomparable wiggle that nobody else could duplicate. And her whispery voice, she developed it from this book. That was not the real Marilyn. The real Marilyn was somebody quite different, extremely different. Most people know about her childhood. She had a horrible childhood. She never knew her father. She was born an illegitimate child, and probably the product of a one-night stand or something. Her mother, Gladys Baker, I believe her name was. Marilyn was actually born Norma Jean Mortensen. That was her legal name. And her mother was mentally ill. She was institutionalized when Marilyn was extremely young, so she was shipped back and forth to all these orphanages, and she's talked about how she was abused and raped, and all kinds of awful things happened to her. And just losing her mother and not having a father at that extremely young age, obviously it just marred her, ruined her for life, ruined her from really any chance of having any peace or real happiness, because she always talked about how tormented she was by what she called her monsters, her inner monsters. It's so sad, so sad. But I really believe, a lot of people have said, if Marilyn had lived, and if Marilyn, was alive today, or if she had lived, a good long life, what would she have done? How would she have continued doing movies? Who would she have married next? A lot of people wonder about that, and I think, based on all her writings, she was a voracious reader and a voracious writer. I think she would have been a writer. I think she would have written a few books. Because this woman was no dumb blonde. This was an extremely intelligent, even intellectual woman with a very sensitive soul. She wrote poetry. She read poetry. She read psychoanalysis. She read about Freud. This is not, your average person. And not enough people know this about Marilyn. And I guess because her public persona was so distinct and so vivid, people just assumed that's who she was, and that was her job. And I have to mention, I didn't want to forget when I was giving this review, that the use of music in this movie was incredible. It was really quite genius. There was one song in particular used by Feist. It's called "The Water," and I heard it. When I heard it, I was like, I know that song, and I was like, I love that song. And then I was trying to think of who it was. I was like, I gotta know who this is. And it was used at a time in the movie when they were talking about a particularly sad incident or period in Marilyn's life, and it just fit so well. That song, that music was perfect. And throughout the movie, it was like the use of the soundtrack was great, just perfect. So whoever was responsible for that, hats off, because he did a great job. What else can I say about Marilyn? I didn't realize that Arthur Miller was such a jerk. I knew that their marriage broke up under bad circumstances, but I didn't realize what an asshole he was and how cruel and unkind he was to her. And probably he, is at least partially responsible for what drove her over the edge, because I think it was only 6 months or a year after their divorce that she ended up dead. Now, a lot of people have, of course, speculated whether it was really suicide or whether she was murdered because of her affairs with the Kennedy brothers and all that. We'll never know. Unfortunately, it's one of the greatest mysteries of all time. I wonder, who knows? Maybe we will find out someday. But if it's gone this long without us finding out a definitive answer, probably not. And maybe it should stay that way. I don't know. Maybe that's why she's such a legend, because there is so much mystery surrounding her death. That's probably one of the reasons she is so legendary. But I remember when I was a little girl, my parents had this bookshelf in the back room, and filled with books. And I was always fascinated with books myself, and I'd go over there and look through them. And one of them was this incredible photography book on Marilyn. And I remember looking at it and just seeing how beautiful she was, and just lingering over the pages and seeing the beauty of the photographs and the woman in them, and just being instantly riveted and fascinated by her. And then seeing her movies over the years, I haven't seen all of them. I've seen Some Like It Hot, of course, 7 Year Itch. What else have I seen? I'm going blank here. Some Like It Hot, 7 Year Itch, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. That's my favorite Marilyn film, is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, because it's so much fun, it's so sweet, it's so funny, and she looked so happy. And she's beautiful in everything, but she was, I think, the most beautiful in that movie, although a lot of people say Some Like It Hot was her best film, and she was her sexiest in that. I don't know. How can you debate? Marilyn is Marilyn. We miss you, Marilyn. I love this movie. 2 major thumbs up. I don't know if it's going to be released in the theaters or you'll see it on TV on HBO. I've seen her other documentaries on HBO, so it will probably end up on there sooner or later. So, when it comes out, do yourself a favor and watch it, especially if you're a Marilyn fan. You'll love it. It was really, really great. I loved it. Excellent. 2 thumbs up. Thank you, Liz Garbus, for making another great documentary about such a great subject. Okay. Oh, yes. One thing I forgot to mention, or it's kind of an aside, but she had actors reading Marilyn's letters and notes and all that stuff. And at first, when it started, I was kind of like, ugh. I didn't want to see actors reading her words. I would have preferred, maybe a voiceover, rather than seeing them reading it. But it kind of worked. Actually, it ended up kind of working somehow. I guess if they were fellow actors and they're reading her words and all that stuff. So that part of it, I didn't like it at first, but it ended up working for me. So I just wanted to add that. Okay, so love Marilyn, 2 thumbs up. It was great. Excellent. I'm going to see a mega movie next for my final Tiff 2012 movie. It's called Penance. It's a Japanese film, and my husband tells me it's like 4.5 hours. So it's either going to be one of those movies that's really, really, really good, or it's just going to be boring, and I'll probably end up leaving. It's going to be one or the other. So I will let you know. I'll give you my review. Okay. See you later. Bye bye.